How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. I want to talk to you about why I think it makes sense to buy $100 worth of Bitcoin, or about 0.002 Bitcoin right now. Now, of course, everyone's in different financial situations. This is never financial advice, but I want to show you some charts. I want to show you some information. I want to show you what's happening in the crypto market and talk to you about why 0.002 Bitcoin is a good start. If you don't mind, stay through to the end of the video because I'm going to be talking about Bitcoin and covering a lot. I don't want you to miss anything, miss a disclaimer, miss some kind of alpha that could help you perform better in the markets. Also, there is a link down there to my Patreon in case you want to know when I'm buying or selling different cryptocurrencies. There's also a link to HGAaccess. This is a Patreon that I started with about 9 other influencers, and we go over information that we get from all different sources. There's a link to that, and there's a link where you can trade cryptocurrency. So in case you want to do something more short term instead of long term, but you want to start trading around cryptocurrency, you can check out the link underneath the video to Margex. There's no KYC, and you don't need a VPN. You can set it up in just a few minutes. Now, Bitcoin has been a little bit volatile over the last week with the ETF approvals. A lot of people are wondering, okay, should I buy Bitcoin for the first time, or I just started buying Bitcoin? What should I do? Should I sell out? Should I hold? I will tell you, we could see on chain most of the Bitcoin that was sold or sent to exchanges when Bitcoin's price fell down was from newer investors that aren't used to the volatility. They thought Bitcoin was up only, but it's not. I will show you though, this is typically a good time to be buying Bitcoin, at least if you've looked historically. I realize that this is a lot to take in if you've never seen this chart, but basically every circle that goes around is 4 years. So as you can see here, it shows all-time highs. It shows bottoms as well. We have halvings in this blue line here. There's so much information. This shows basically Bitcoin's price over time. And we're already past this deadline. We're approaching the next Bitcoin halving. Typically, this is a good time to be buying. The best time would have been about 6 months ago or so, 6 to 12 months ago. And then you hold, and then usually about a year from now, we start hitting all-time highs. And then we see more and more all-time highs. And then in about 2 years from now, typically, a little bit under 2 years now, we see the all-time high get hit. And it's almost within a few months of each other every single time. So I think now is not a terrible time to be buying Bitcoin. Of course, you have to look at more than just what's happened historically. And you can see a lot of news about people covering Bitcoin. BlackRock, Fidelity, Van Neck, Franklin Templeton all put Bitcoin on their homepage talking about these ETFs being approved. And we know that's a big thing too. Basically, there was something that got approved, spot ETFs, that allows these companies to sell Bitcoin in an ETF. And then when someone goes and buys their ETF shares, these companies have to go buy Bitcoin off the market. And then that causes the price typically to go up. So we have a lot of money that's never been able to buy Bitcoin before that is going to start buying Bitcoin. And this being on these 4 different homepages, brings hundreds of millions of views every single month. So this is big. We also know that they are swallowing up Bitcoin. Just over the first 2 days, BlackRock bought 11,500 Bitcoin. There are about 2 million Bitcoin on exchanges, but this will go quickly. They will buy a lot very quickly, it looks like, and then there won't be much Bitcoin left. So the price is going to skyrocket up. And this is just the beginning. Boomers are starting to allocate a portion of their life savings into Bitcoin. 401ks are going to start allocating a percentage to Bitcoin. We know pension funds have already started some of them. We're going to see a lot of advertisements. We're seeing the ads come on Twitter, but not really being pushed out that much yet. We're going to get retail FOMOing into Bitcoin, and we're going to have, and we already do have, daily coverage of Bitcoin on large media outlets. But people are wondering, like, okay, that's great, but why is the price down? This is typical. You can see here, even in the bull runs, 2016 through 2018 bull run, huge leg up, we still saw corrections every single couple months. It's normal. It's normal to see 20%, 30% corrections in a bull run. It's healthy because it basically flushes out some of the people that are on very high leverage and causes people to hold and accumulate for the long term. So That being said, I do think there's a case to be made for diversification within different asset classes. A lot of people look at real estate, but Bitcoin still outperforms real estate. This is Dow Jones versus Bitcoin. The Dow Jones has just plummeted in value versus Bitcoin. Same thing with real estate. Like the cost of a house has gone up pretty quickly, as you can see here, going from 200,000 to 500,000 over the last 15 years. But when you consider how much Bitcoin's gone up, like the housing price in Bitcoin has gone down significantly, going from almost 100,000 Bitcoin for one house to now 10 Bitcoin for the average house. Just shows you how well Bitcoin typically performs. So how much Bitcoin do you need, right? How much Bitcoin should we be buying? Well, obviously it's going to be dependent on your own situation. It's going to be dependent on how bullish you are, how high your risk tolerance is. But I took into account a couple different situations here. And I have other cryptos too. If you want me to go through these in a separate video or some other crypto, let me know. I make videos like this every month or so, every month or two. So depending on how bullish you are on Bitcoin, it's going to determine how much you want to put in or how high you think Bitcoin's going to go. Let's just take into account these three different scenarios. Kind of a bear case where Bitcoin just hits the previous all-time high. We've never had this happen where we just hit that and that was the next peak. Typically we go way past the all-time high. But let's say bear case scenario, Bitcoin just hits all-time high, it goes up like 50% from here, and that's how high it goes for the next 2 years. Base case, let's say it's about 3x, about $130,000, and then bull case, $210,000. Of course, you can plug in your own assumptions here. Okay, so depending on what you want to do, whether you want to retire or whether you want just like life-changing money, depending on how you want to live, it's going to determine how much Bitcoin you need. Let's just say you want $100,000. Well, in this bear scenario, you need about 1.45 Bitcoin right now. If we go up again to this $69,000 mark, if you take into account this base case scenario where Bitcoin hits 130,000, you need 0.77 Bitcoin. In the bull scenario, you need under half a Bitcoin. Now, what if you wanted $1 million? I don't think that's enough to retire in America, at least for a lot of people, but that is life-changing money. Like you are set to retire maybe in a decade or two just from letting it compound at that point. Faster if you left in Bitcoin and Bitcoin continues to do well. If you believe Bitcoin's only going to go up about 50%, you need about 14.5 Bitcoin. In the base case scenario, though, you need about 7.7. Bull case scenario, 4.76. I'm not saying that it's easy to get this either. Like this is still a couple $100,000 worth of Bitcoin. But keep in mind, if Bitcoin's going to 5x, you need to put in $200,000 for $1 million. That's just how math works out. Now, of course, maybe you hold on longer, maybe you hold on another 4 years, and then maybe it goes up to $500,000 or $1 million or something like that. You can always take that into account. So let's say you had $15,000 right now. How much would it be worth? Depends, again, at the different scenarios. Let's look at some different scenarios here. Bitcoin's price stays exactly the same. Obviously, then $15,000 would be worth $15,000 in Bitcoin. What if we go up to $107,500? So it goes up pretty significantly from here, over $100,000. You would have $37,500. So again, like even with good returns, you still need to put in a lot of money to see significant amounts of money back. If we go up to $161,000, you'd have about $56,000. 130, not sure why this is here. Let's just take that out. Let's say it goes up to 500,000. You'd have $174,000. So again, that's a nice 10x, right? That's life-changing money. If it goes up to $1 million, that $15,000 you invested right now would be worth $350,000 basically. So how much would you need to retire? Again, it depends on your own expenses. It depends on how much you spend. It depends on how bullish you are. Let's say you want to spend $80,000 a year in retirement. Typically, based on traditional finance, we would use the 4% rule. So if you had $80,000 a year of expenses, you need about a $2 million portfolio. Well, to get to a $2 million portfolio, obviously there's difference when you just hold everything in Bitcoin, it's more volatile. So that changes the numbers a little bit. There haven't been studies on Bitcoin specifically, but let's say you want to use that 4% rule. Well, in the bull scenario, you need about 10 Bitcoin. Now, why do I say you just need to start with $100? Because when we start buying crypto, you need to start somewhere. And $100 is a nice starting place that gives you some skin in the game. It gets you to research more, pay attention more, learn more, and hopefully you continue to invest from there. I will say, this is the dormant Bitcoin addresses chart. It shows that there are 4 million Bitcoin that have not moved in about 6 or 7 years, about 7 years. So we can assume that those are just pretty much gone or lost or something like that. People have died without passing that on to their children. Now, of course, some of that isn't the case. Some people have Bitcoin that they just really haven't touched in 8 or 9 years and they still have access to it. But then there are also people after that have lost their Bitcoin. So you have to make some assumptions here. But let's assume there's 4 million Bitcoin lost. That means there are about 17 million Bitcoin left. There are about 8 billion people on Earth. So that means there's about 0.002125 Bitcoin per person. 0.002 Bitcoin at today's price is about $86. So if you have $100 right now that you put into the crypto market, you have more than the average person could have on Earth when you account for some of the Bitcoin being lost. That doesn't even account for all the entities that hold a significant amount of Bitcoin that will never sell. There are entities that, like MicroStrategy, that have said that they're never going to sell. They're just going to continue to buy Bitcoin as much as possible. And there are whales that maybe even they sell some of their Bitcoin, but they're always holding on to some Bitcoin as well. So I think 0.002 Bitcoin is a good place to start. Of course, from there, you need to make your own plan. Do you want to invest $1,000 a month, $100 a month, $10 a month, $100,000 a month? There are people that literally buy 20 Bitcoin a day, every single day, no matter what the day is. Every day of the week, they buy 20 Bitcoin. There are people that will buy 5,000 Bitcoin at a time. So every scenario out there is possible. Like if you think your scenario is different, there are probably hundreds or thousands of people that are in the exact same place as you, wondering the exact same thing as you, whether now is a good time to be buying Bitcoin. Should I wait for it to drop a little bit more? The key is, in my opinion, just to get into the game and start dollar cost averaging. Of course, you can always try to time the market, but that's more trading than investing for the long term. That brings me to back to this though, Margex. If you do want to trade, there's a link to Margex underneath the video. If you're long-term focused, you might want just DCA, or you can do a portion of both of those strategies. Let me know your thoughts on this underneath the video. Let me know if you want me to do more videos like this. I do them, again, about every couple months, maybe every month, with different cryptos. If you want me to do more of these, hit subscribe and let me know in the comments. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I will see you in the next video.